Hello and welcome to Trad Jazz Today. Dan Zeilinger has been a world-traveling trad jazz musician for the past 40 years. Some of his most memorable performances were on the lawn of the Edinburgh Castle, at the Imperial Palace in Japan, as well as TV shows and commercials around the world. Dan has met many people during his career and has spent many hours on and off stage with these musicians, talking about jazz, life, and more. Some are touring musicians, some are theme park warriors, and some are casual musicians who play on weekends with their friends. They all have stories worthy of a movie script, and through these interviews, Dan will be sharing them with you. Now, Dan Zeilinger.
Hi there, this is Dan Zeilinger from Trad Jazz Today. My next guest is a mover and shaker in the Traditional Jazz Society up in the Sacramento area. Sacramento's very own Patrick Skiffington. God, why did I call you Jack?
I don't know.
It's been a long day. When I get a chance to record these shows, I do like a whole stream of them together.
That's what I figured.
So I'm just an idiot is what it boils down to. Thank you, Patrick, for agreeing to do this.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited about it.
I was saying, although in full disclosure, Patrick and I have never met, but upon discussing him with several of my friends, the biggest endorsement came from Buddy Otto, who said that you would be a great interview.
So, shucks, that's fantastic.
So blame Bonnie for this.
We call her Mama Cat. She's our piano player. Anytime we run into her.
I love Bonnie. We've been friends for such a long time. Unfortunately, you guys live in Sacramento, or she's now in Arizona, of course, and I'm in Anaheim. So that makes it difficult to have really close friendships.
Right. And there's no festivals right now, so we don't get to see each other.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So we were just talking. Actually, this is take 2 of our interview. To be full disclosure for all the audience, because we were getting some audio bugs worked out. And you were born in Sacramento, which is great.
I was indeed, and it is great. When I was younger, I didn't think it was great, but I've since come to see that it is indeed great.
and you were saying that your parents were musical, or they had a huge record collection.
My dad is not musical. He had a pretty sizable record collection when I was young that was the whole spectrum of music, from like classical to show tunes to trad jazz, big band. He was really into big band, so a lot of big band records around the house when I was a kid.
Great stuff. Me too. Although and I know that you've watched a couple of our interviews, you understand that I actually started out as a trumpet player, and have played almost every style of music on the planet, and ended up settling with trad. So I'm not what you would call a stuck in the mud, moldy fig trad player, although it is the style of music I make my living off of and do now. I know that you have a real wide interest in styles yourself.
Oh yeah. Well, I listen to all kinds of music. I'm only able to play a couple kinds on my different instruments, but I listen to all kinds of music from every country, every style.
I think I've done a pretty good job on this show featuring washboard players. Personally, a very maligned and ignored instrument.
Well, you've had Ralph Reynolds on, right? But who's the other washboard players that you?
Believe it or not, very famous banjo player, guitar player Howard Alden played washboard for a while at Disneyland.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that clip on YouTube of him playing washboard. I was blown away because I've only seen him on banjo.
The drummer named George Andrus that I spent time with in Knott's Berry Farm also plays washboard. And
yeah, well, you have to have washboard Sue on.
Now. Well, I used to play with Sue Croninger.
Oh, no way.
Oh yeah.
What band did you play with her in?
I played with, it was just her and Eddie and me up at Mammoth Lakes about 2 or 3 years, and I also did some of the harvest festivals with them.
Oh, that's great.
Whenever Westy wasn't available, I was.
Did you get to dress up in holiday gear like Eddie the Elf and Santa Claus?
I fit into the elf costume. I did. It was
That's fantastic.
It was surprising. And Mom, of course, with Mrs. Elf and Eddie. But yeah, Eddie and I and Sue actually did a few festivals together, and I've done some casuals with them. I love Sue Croninger. A lot of people.
Yeah, she's the best.
A lot of people don't realize that she actually had a degree in percussion.
Oh, no, I just learned that today. Wow.
I had actually drawn a cartoon once for what used to be the American Rag. It showed a clown in full clown makeup wearing a washboard. He says, "Yeah, you know, my degree from the Crescent Institute of Technology has taken me a long way."
Ah.
I also play washboard, by the way. I think I sent you an email to that effect.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, everybody should. It's a lot of fun.
Well, and it's actually a very musical instrument if played correctly.
Well, yeah. There's a fine line.
But
for sure.
Bluegrass, country and western, British skiffle playing,
Jug bands.
Well, I played a jug band also, and they're all. Washboard is not an uncommon instrument in a lot of musical styles. I think the public is kind of ignorant on that point.
Yeah, well, you know, it was pretty popular as a percussion instrument in the early part of the century, or of the last century. But, you know, I don't know, it's come back. It's kind of come back with ukuleles and jug bands and folk bands. And, you know, a lot of the younger bands in New Orleans, percussion is predominantly washboard now. So I'm happy to see it. You know, you're a good player.
Now, although I think I've read that the reason you switched to washboard is bass was just too heavy for you to carry.
I was tired of carrying my bass around. That's a true story. Greg Sabin, one of my very best friend and musical partner, and I were playing in a folk trio, actually, that was a kind of a tribute joke to the Kingston Trio, Limelighters kind of music. And Greg, brilliant songwriter that he is, wrote a couple songs in that style. And we would just bomb into open mics and kind of blow everybody away with that. And our guitar player, who was playing tenor guitar with us, ended up moving from Sacramento. And so Greg and I were like, well, let's just play, some trad together and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds good, but I think I'm going to teach myself the washboard so I don't have to carry this bass around.
Well, of course, that's kind of a cheap shot for the band because now they have to go find a bass player. But
yeah, well, I mean, we ultimately became the Crescent Katz. That's when we are the FreeBadge Serenaders also, which is a side project that's now a trio with a tuba player, Zach Berteau. And we eventually, merged with the Al Brothers and our original trumpet player, Jeff Kreis, and became the Crescent Katz. So now we don't have a bass player. We have a tuba player, Priscilla Ornelas, who is a fantastic tuba player.
Excuse me, tuba players are bass players. They just happen to play. They just happen to play tuba.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Most people double. And when I was playing, when I was younger, when I was in high school, my orchestra teacher, Jerry Lopes, played bass and tuba in a lot of jazz bands around town. And he ultimately got me involved with the Jazz Society around that time. And I started playing for the youth band, TNT, the New Traditionalists. And there was a lot of pressure on me to learn tuba.
I'm sorry, what year was that, Patrick?
That was probably 92 to 94, something like that, 1992, 1994. And there was a lot of pressure on me when I was in that band to learn tuba. And so Jerry Lopes said, okay, look, I'll sign you out of, whatever other class, math or whatever, for another period so that you can sit by yourself in the band room and learn the sousaphone is what they had available. And I just couldn't get it. I spent like weeks trying and I just could not even make a one tone that was, steady. I just had no idea what I was doing. And so like I said, I think it was about a week or so, he finally said, I have to send you back to math class now.
It's not for everybody. Not everybody has the chops for that, I have to admit.
No, I just could never. And I kind of regret it, but it was never for me. No.
Well, a lot of it, it's funny. One of the dirty little secrets of brass playing is that it's not easy for everybody.
Right.
As far I'm talking about physically now. I'm not talking about necessarily emotionally or any other type of way. There's actually a certain physiology. I'll be okay.
Philosophy?
No. physically, there's certain traits that favor trumpets and tubas and clarinets and saxophones, and just physically, and drummers for that matter.
Right.
And of course, you have to have an itchy belly to play washboard. It's just all one of those things.
Yeah.
So we were talking earlier about the fact that you played some bass clarinet, and in clarinet. What made you not pursue clarinet as a jazz instrument?
Oh, I was I just wasn't good at it. I have to be honest. When I switched from clarinet to bass clarinet, I totally lost my clarinet embouchure, and when I tried to return, it was just not a good idea. But at the time I was just playing a lot of bass. I was playing in the orchestra in high school, and I was also playing in, like I said, the youth band for SCJS, and then like small combos like string ensembles and stuff. And so I was just really, really busy on the bass, and I just didn't have time to do that anymore.
Yeah, we should have found you a bass sax back then. It would have been.
Yeah, I love bass sax. I'll tell you, that's my favorite bass instrument.
Me too.
In trad jazz, for sure, absolutely.
In fact, earlier today, I just interviewed Jack Wadsworth.
Okay, I'm unfamiliar with him.
Bob Ringwald had the Great Pacific Jazz Band for a while, and he was Bob's bass sax player at the time.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I have I collect the Sacramento Jazz Society had their own label for a while, and I made a bunch of records, and I actually have the Great Pacific one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that got me interested in interviewing you, by the way, was your association with the Sacramento Traditional Jazz Society. And somebody, for guys from my generation, you're a young kid.
Oh golly, I'm 40. I'm in my mid 40s.
That's what I like. That's what I like about traditional jazz.
Yeah, I'm not a young kid by any means.
In our circles, you are.
Well, yeah. Sadly, our jazz society is no more. They absolved, I don't know, maybe 2-3 years ago. But we do have a long history of, like you said, like with the festival and the society here. And I'm kind of the prodigal son of that. When I was in high school, I was playing in the youth band and stuff, like I said, but I wasn't really interested in the music. I was happy to be able to play at the Elks Club and the whole thing because, but I didn't like playing that stuff at the time. So after going away from it for like a decade or so, I came back to it, obviously, but new and improved and on a smaller instrument.
Well, it's not often kids get involved with the music their parents were listening to until they get a little bit older. That's very, very common.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't really appreciate it in the way that I do now. And especially, like I said, the Sacramento connection is really important to me.
Well, that Sacramento Jazz Jubilee, it was just it was a diamond in the world of traditional jazz. It was the most sought after festival by jazz bands across the world.
Well, my dad volunteered for it for years, and I was actually born during a Jubilee weekend, and my dad had to miss the festival, and he was really bummed about it. So years later, when I was in high school and I got my first badge to play there with the youth band with TNT, I gave him my companion badge, and literally with a tear in his eye, he said, "I forgive you now."
That's a wonderful story, and it's so much like a father.
Oh yeah. He's a great guy. I have to give him credit for getting me into the old Sacramento Festival originally. But we grew up next door. I grew up next door to a family by the last name of Salerno, and the patriarch Pete Salerno played drums in a band called Gold Standard around town. And their singer at the time actually was Jan Sutherland, named Mackenzie, which I didn't know at the time. I mean, I was 3-4 years old, but I used to climb the fence and poke my head over to see what they were doing. And, they would inevitably be like, "Hey, kid, why don't you come over and check this out?" Well, that happened so frequently that my mom would get mad and say, "Stop inviting yourself over to their parties," and so she started very strict rules that I wasn't allowed to engage them until they engaged me and then invited me on their own account. But I would like climb to the top of the fence and just kind of look until somebody noticed me and said, "Hey kid, come over." And I said, "See, they want me to come over."
That's wonderful. Yeah, I actually had a chance to play a gig with Jana at one point in time, but that's very cool.
Yeah. I met, I got to meet her years later when I was in the youth band. Her son, John McKenzie, played trombone in the youth band at the time.
When was the first time you decided you were going to be on stage in any kind of music?
Oh golly. Oh, I don't know. I mean, outside of like school and stuff, I kind of got into like country and bluegrass, and so we would play open mics with some friends that I was playing with. So I guess that would probably be, the first kind of music. We played in an old time band that has evolved into the old time band I'm in now, and we played at a brewery.
Was that on bass?
Yeah, I played bass in that one. I play fiddle in that band now.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, and but yeah, we played at a brewery for their brunch like every other Saturday or something. So that was kind of the first time that I got up on stage with a band.
So no Stefan Grappelli for you, huh? No jazz fiddle?
No, golly, no. I couldn't even come close. No way. Not by a long shot.
It's not that different than the kind of lines you have to play in bluegrass and things.
Oh no! Well, see, I can't even play bluegrass. That's even too hard for me. I just play the old time, like square dance music.
No,
like,
I understand.
Turkey in the Straw and Girl I Left Behind Me and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So that means that you don't spend any time practicing your washboard. You're not a.
Well, I don't. Well, because it's kind of futile. I mean, to just play washboard by yourself. Although when I started learning, I practiced like crazy. I taught myself from watching YouTube videos of players that I knew about or had seen before, especially Ralph Reynolds, my great mentor.
Yeah, but you knew Bill fairly well, didn't you?
I'm sorry?
You knew Bill Gunter fairly well, didn't you?
Here's what's crazy. I never met Bill Gunter, unfortunately.
Oh, it's too bad.
Yeah, so he was playing in a band. So I love I don't know if I've mentioned yet how much I just adore Jim Mayhack and his whole career and his playing and him as a person. He's my absolute trad jazz hero. Jim, if you're watching, I love you. But Jim was playing in a band called the Boondockers with Bill Gunter, which was kind of like a novelty band. And I've always really been into novelty bands. And that band actually has a gut bucket player, Art Terry. And at the time, I think their front line was more or less Fulton Street, but they played a pizza place just south of town here. And I went to see him, and I was just knocked out by Bill's Uncle Billy, as we call him. As I was just knocked out by his playing, by his entertainment, his jokes, and the banter within the band. I was just blown away. And so I started following them, seeing them at festivals and stuff, and really enjoying them. And then shortly after Bill passed, his widow, Bev, gave me his washboard one time when we were playing at a local Straw Hat. So I still have it. I don't play it because I kind of want to preserve it, but I do have it, and it's one of my prized possessions. I also have a piece of a washboard that Bob Raggio played. Which
sure.
Yeah, another one of my prized possessions, and another person I never got to meet, or I never got to see him play live either.
Bob was great. A great guy.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite of the revival washboard players by a long shot.
He always knew exactly what to play.
He's just so smooth, and he's so natural. The way he plays. Ralph is the same way. It's just the ease that they play with just blows me away. I mean, I'm constantly struggling. I mean, if you see me play live, my eyes are closed half the time because I'm just hanging on for dear life, but guys like Raggio and Bill Gunter and Ralph Reynolds, they just played so naturally and so well and so, dare I say it, tastefully.
Well, of course, the thing that sets Ralph aside from everybody is the fact that he has flair. on top of it. Not only great musical taste, which both Bob and those guys had, but he had great flair. Another guy, by the way, I was talking about washboard players I've given service to on my show, is Dick Hardwick, who of course
I'm familiar with Dick Hardwick. I watched that episode.
He was a comedian at the Golden Horseshoe in Disneyland.
Oh, a theme park warrior, as you say.
Who also played washboard. He's very good.
So that's my end goal. Disney, if you're watching, call me. You know, I thought for sure that when Ralph retired and moved out of the country that they would call me, but I'm still waiting. I just
interviewed John Mareko, who was the tuba player who's been there for 33 years.
Holy smokes!
The Side Street Strutters.
Oh yeah, golly, I would absolutely love to play there. All of my favorite washboard players have played there. You know, from Abragio, Reynolds, etc. And so yeah, give me a call, Disney. Not kidding.
I will make sure that somebody gets that message. If there's anything to go along with that. Wonderful. Now let's talk a little bit about some of your other groups. Now you also have done some rockabilly.
Oh no, not really.
Oh, I thought you had.
Oh no. I'm that's another genre that I'm not good enough on that instrument to play. I can't do that, like slapping and etc. No, just mostly like old time and jazz. We got the Crescent Katz, obviously, and the FreeBadge Serenaders, which is Greg, myself, and a tuba player, Zach. And then I play in an old time band called the Minor Flats, which is a MINER, and then flats with two T's. It's interesting. Tell me a little bit about your term pizza jazz. Oh well, what Sacramento is known for two things in my mind: traditional jazz and Shakey's Pizza. Shakey's Pizza, the original store, the building's still standing. Unfortunately, not Shakey's Pizza anymore. On 57th and J, right here downtown, and that's kind of where Sacramento got the traditional jazz bug and started, which ultimately led to having a world-class festival for over 40 years. Well,
Shakey's was actually the beginning to many trad players.
Oh, absolutely. And we, the Crescent Katz, believe, we refer to our music as pizza jazz because it's party music, and we want you to have a good time, and we want you to talk to your neighbor, and we want you to hoot and holler, and we want you to drink too much, because the more you drink, the better we sound, and we have a rule in the band: no shushing. If you're at our set, we don't want to hear you shush your neighbor. If you shush your neighbor, you're out.
Yeah. That's one of the things you talked about. Jim Mayhack, of course. I played often with Jim. He was in my First Federal Jazz Band group.
Oh yeah, I've seen Jim Mayhack in many pizza joints.
But what I love about Jim is he just likes to play. He's not. He doesn't make any judgments about whether it's the best players in the world and the best band in the best venue, or whether he's at a pizza joint with a quartet. He just loves to play, and that's one of my favorite things about Jim, other than the fact that he's a gentleman and a blast to be around.
Oh, well, like I said, yeah, he's one of my heroes, and when I was a kid, his record, Never Mind, I'll Do It Myself, was a life changer. It told me that I was allowed to try other instruments and not just stick to bass or reeds or whatever. And I'm really thankful for that, because I have a whole stack of instruments just collecting dust now, thanks to you, Jim Mayhack.
he tells me that he has a whole stack of those recordings still in his garage.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. But it's a fantastic one. I have it on cassette from him, autographed from when I was a kid. And then years later, when it came out on CD with like the bonus tracks and stuff, I have that as well. So, yeah, I love that record. I just absolutely love it.
So you've taken on the role of kind of archivist for the Sacramento Jazz Jubilee. Is that?
Yeah, it kind of seems that way. It's more of a private collection.
Is it your personal collection?
Well, people because of my involvement with the former Jazz Society, people have my number when they have records to get rid of, or when they have badges to get rid of, or programs to get rid of. And then other than that, I fortify it from eBay. I buy a lot of old Sac Jubilee stuff on eBay. I just got a stack of And All That Jazz, which was the newsletter, all on newsprint from the early 80s, you know. And so it's been really fun going through those. And then somebody recently gave me, I believe Mike Foley, who was a former president.
I know Mike. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe he gave it to me, about a dozen tapes of the club meetings from the late 70s. And a good friend of mine, Mark Pollock, just finished digitizing all of those. And so those have been absolutely fantastic to listen to. We're working on getting those online in a downloadable format. Once we can, they were all cataloged with player and, you know, band name, et cetera. And we still have to scan that stuff, but we're trying to get that online real soon.
Well, good for you. I know that's, boy, I'm sure that the trad jazz world appreciates that. And it's time consuming, especially when you're doing it off analog into digital.
Well, like I said, I'm lucky to have a friend like Mark who not only knows how to do that, but is willing to do it. If it was left to me, they'd still be in a box.
Now, are you associated with the Hot Jazz Jubilee?
We are. I mean, we've played every one so far. Unfortunately, this year was canceled for obvious reasons. But yeah, we've had a great time there. That was the birthplace of our Firehouse 5+2 tribute band, which now plays at a couple festivals now.
Ah, okay. Who's in that band?
Well, it changes, but it's basically the Crescent Katz. We're the five, and then we add a reed player and a piano player. Primarily, the piano player is my good friend Jason Warner.
I know Jason, sure.
Yeah, he's a hell of a guy. I love him. And then on reeds, we either have Nate Kettner or we have Clint Baker. And so either way it's fantastic.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with those guys.
Yeah,
it's hard to find somebody to replace George Probert, but what are they going to do?
Oh, yeah. We actually called him. Greg called him originally when the Hot Jazz Jubilee had their first year. They wanted to have a band put together to do a tribute to the Firehouse Five. And so Greg called George Probert, who was still alive at the time, and asked him about it and was like, you know, I'm a big fan, and we were wondering if you might want to be involved in this, or if you would at least give us your blessing. And George Probert said, who the hell are you, and how'd you get this number?
Who the hell are you, man, and how did you get this number? I was very good friends with George. We were stoked to have a chance to play the style of music with the Firehouse Five. But then, of course, I was tasked to build a more or less a sound effects table that I play in that band with the fire bell and the siren and a train whistle and a tambourine and the whole nine, which was a huge learning curve. I would imagine. It's almost like it's almost as bad as doing a Spike Jones band.
Oh yeah, you know, honestly, I don't think I could pull that off. I know that you interviewed Cynthia Sayre recently, and she played in a Spike Jones band, and I have no idea. There's some video of that on YouTube, and I have no idea how she did that. Like, it's just fantastic. It's all I can handle with the Firehouse stuff. You know, honestly, it's like doing a workout for, you know, an hour-long set.
Yeah, you know, the Disney at Disney they had, of course, the new Pix Harmonic jazz band, which was a show band. They were doing picture stuff, but they kind of based that along the Spike Jones kind of idiom too, where they had a lead xylophone player and horns. Katie Cabrera was playing bass for that.
Right. Yeah, I know Katie was in that group. I haven't been able to check any of that out, but now that I know that that's what it sounds like, that's originally how I really got into listening to washboard, was through novelty bands like that, like Spike Jones, but more particularly the Hoosier Hotshots.
Absolutely. That's where Ralph got it. Yeah.
Yeah, the Hoosier Hotshots are one of my favorite bands. I actually play some slide whistle pretty decently because Hezzy is probably one of my favorites. And I got to see a really cool band called the Washboard Wizards that did a whole Hoosier Hotshots tribute show. And the washboard player and slide whistle player from that band, Steve Javon, is just fantastic at both. And and I got to see them at the old Sacramento Jubilee in the Crest Theater. With that, just the acoustics there were amazing, and I literally cried because they recreated those songs, note for note. It was fantastic.
As you know, as Ralph says, if a band has a washboard doing it, then it's a washboard band.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. But also, like Ralph said, more than one washboard player is like throwing marbles into a drawer. I love that. I'm going to use that. He said that in his interview with you, and I'm going to use that from now on, because as much as I love the camaraderie of doing washboard shows, it has that auditory effect.
The washboard-orama at Sacramento used to drive me crazy.
Well, I'll tell you, as a kid, when I was in the youth band, we used to follow that like every Sunday morning of the festival. And I couldn't stand it, but lo and behold, I've become the MC of the one in Monterey. So karma's a bee, as they say.
Oh, that's funny. That's great. Well, it's a good thing, and I want to, just from a personal standpoint, encourage you and thank you for all the archivist stuff you guys are doing.
Some of the audio stuff is just fantastic, and a lot of performers that aren't with us anymore, obviously, and it's just great to hear them play. There was a really great piano player and singer that was involved in the society back then called Wilda Bond. And I don't know if you've ever heard her, but she's kind of a lost treasure, and people that know about her can really dig it. But just never made much of a name for herself, but she is just a fantastic piano player and an even better singer. To hear her sing is just sublime. So,
wonderful.
She's turning up on some of these tapes from the old meetings in the 70s, which is really cool to hear.
Now, are you putting up a YouTube site for all of these things that you're archiving?
Well, it's just these dozen tapes or so. Like I said, the rest of this stuff is, badges and programs and shirts and, volunteer shirts and stuff. It's just whatever I can find. That's just more personal collection stuff just to have, But yeah, we're trying to get that audio online so that it'll be downloadable. Maybe hopefully on like archive.org or something like that. Yeah.
Also, I guess all of us should start putting out notices to our fans and for more video of their times at Sacramento and get some of that stuff archived.
Yeah, well, absolutely, that'd be great. But unfortunately, the heyday of that was kind of pre-VHS.
I know. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons I started downloading the stuff I started downloading.
Right. The stuff from the 70s, unfortunately, is not. There's not so much, maybe 8mm or whatever. But there is some good stuff that's on YouTube, maybe from the 80s. But that's about as early of video evidence.
Right. No, I understand
that I've been able to find. But yeah, those were the days. The stuff that you can find on YouTube from the heyday of the festival is just a lot of fun to watch, for sure.
Now, is there still a trad society somewhere in the Sacramento area of some sort?
There is not. There was a small gathering that was kind of an unofficial group since the STGS folded. But because of the virus, they're not able to meet right now. So not really. There's a few bands in town that, play out, and again, not at the moment, unfortunately. But other than that, we don't really have a society here anymore, unfortunately.
Well, I think that falls on your shoulders, sir.
I know, yeah. People keep saying this. Yeah, I don't know. I'm barely organized enough to dress myself in the morning, much less, put a society together, unfortunately.
Well, there are ways it can be done. I'm just here to tell you. I know that.
Well, we do have the festival. The Hot Jazz Festival is a lot of fun. It's a little more concentrated for trad jazz, where the old festival was starting to get rock and roll and blues, etc. So that's been a lot of fun. There is supposed to be a new festival in Old Sac next year that is based around what used to be Banjarama.
Okay.
So Banjarama is now adding trad bands.
Yeah, that was the Hilton originally.
What's that?
Banjarama. When I was doing the Sacramento traditional jazz, we leave the Banjarama.
Oh no. There's a separate event called Banjo Rama.
Oh, I'm just saying that.
Has to do with the Sacramento Banjo Band.
Oh, okay.
And so it's all banjo bands from all around California playing together. But this coming year, they're inviting some trad bands to play, and it's actually going to be in Old Sacramento. So we'll see how that goes. That sounds really exciting.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for this interview. I'm so glad you agreed to do it. I know you were a little apprehensive, maybe.
Oh, not apprehensive, just nervous. You've had a lot of giants on, and frankly, I'm surprised that you called me. So I really appreciate it.
Well, we have to rely on the people that are interested in the style, and people like you that are putting out videos and archiving personalities. I'm trying to encourage what you're doing, and hopefully we can get more people involved.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, totally. We could, the more the merrier. We need more young folks playing this kind of music. Thankfully, a lot of that is happening in New Orleans. There's people half my age that are playing twice as good.
Oh yeah, Tuba Skinny and those guys,
so,
sure.
Yeah.
What's the other band getting a lot of YouTube covers? YouTube's been a real godsend for trad jazz in a lot of ways.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you get to see trad bands from all around the world on YouTube. So in that sense, it's kind of the replacement for the old Sacramento Festival, where you can still see these Eastern Bloc and Czechoslovakian bands and, et cetera, bands from Europe. All that stuff's online now, which is fantastic, Do
you have a website that people, if people want, or do you want people to contact you? I guess is the next question.
I don't have a website. The Crescent Katz have a website, which is crescentkatz.com. It's Crescent, like the Crescent City, Katz with a Z, KATZ.com. Most of our CDs, I think, are available through there. Other than that, no. That's the only band that has an online presence in that sense.
Well, I'm thinking
the Minor Flats have a Facebook page, and so they can get a hold of our old time band through Facebook that way.
I'm just thinking there's going to be a whole lot of swag out there with the people who watch my show that may be interested in sending it to you.
Oh, Sacramento, old Sacramento stuff? Oh, yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Send it to me. Get my email from Mr. Z here, and I will gladly take it off your hands and add it to my pile.
There you go, guys. If you want to add something to Patrick's pile.
Yeah. Sacramento related, preferably. I only have so much space.
No, Sacramento related, absolutely. But one of the purposes of the show is try to get everybody interconnected, interlinked, and make things happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks once again, Pat. I'm going to sign off here, and I really appreciate you agreeing to do this.
Hey, thanks again for having me. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome. Take care now.
You too. Bye.
Thank you for watching Trad Jazz Today. Dan posts new interviews every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Make sure to check out the archive of past shows, and please give us a thumbs up when you subscribe to the channel. Bye.